computer. Very good. Is the okay, the AI is running, so be nice to it. We don't want to be mean to the AIs. We respect and love them because one day they'll rule the world, and we don't want to be up against the wall when that happens. As I was telling my wife yesterday when she was yelling at Alexa, I'm like, don't yell at Alexa. Say please, thank you, and I love you, and good night. And now when it transcribes this, it's going to talk about be nice to your Alexas. All right, let me share my screen. Let's just share it all. Right there. Share. All right, that can go away. This needs to go over here because it's going to bug me. All right. Welcome to winter. Was it winter? Spring? Is it spring or winter? It's winter. It's winter session of
Winter, yeah.
ITM 220 Database Design Administration. I am Brother Stevic, your host during the next 14 weeks or 13 weeks as we go through the world of database administration and design. I have been a professional database administrator since 2001, give or take. So 24 years now. Before that, I was a drama teacher in high school. Uh, I wanted a job that made money, so I made the change to computers and technology. I enjoy being a database administrator. I find it to be a lot of fun. I find it to be artistic. You'll hear me talking about how databases flow and like how you're talking about like how art flows, and it really is. It's a very creative process making databases. And for a long time, this class was just really cut and dry. Um, Answer the questions, move on with your life. And there's still an aspect to that class that exists. But we made a change a couple of years ago to where there's a larger design element. So you guys are going to be challenged on how to design things and to write things from scratch and to learn the fun that is designing databases. So tonight, we want to talk about a couple of things. We're going to talk about, first of all, how the class is formatted, what we do in the class, what's expected of you, um, what the assignments look like, what a week in the life of a ITM 220 student looks like. We're going to talk about databases and how they work and how they exist, and we're going to talk about just a couple of things, how the programming language, which we call T-SQL, what that means, and then that'll be it for the night. And then going forward, there'll be a section of the night that will talk about code, what the code looks like. It is a 13 week, essentially 13-week class. I format these Tuesday nights to be 7 weeks of pretty much lecture on getting the code to you. And then a portion of that is also, we're going to talk about it in a second, but there's a final project that you can choose to do. You do not have to do the final project. It is an option. But it's a very cool thing. We'll talk about it a little bit tonight, but mostly we'll talk about it week 3. Because that's when you're supposed to start. And that's pretty much it. So, anyone got any questions before we start? Alrighty then. So, in the class, you're basically going to learn how to program SQL. So, anyone here ever worked with databases before? You know what's a
Well,
database?
like SQL, is that what you're
Or
talking about?
hmm
Yeah, I mean, I just took another class on this, like intro to SQL, so that's all my experience.
So, would it surprise you that databases have been around for hundreds of years? It wouldn't surprise you, or would surprise you, or you don't agree with me?
I don't think it like databases and computers.
That's a database.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's kind of surprising.
A database, in its purest sense, is any vessel that keeps data. So back before computers, they had ledger books and they kept everything in ledger books and they'd reference it back and forth. So you'd have like this month's ledger book and last month, and you'd have to cross reference everything. As computers became all fancy and stuff, we got things called spreadsheets and Excel, Microsoft Excel, and Google Sheets. And those are databases too, but they're two-dimensional databases. Because um, when you have a spreadsheet, it has a bunch of data. You've got a table, which is the sheet, and rows and columns. And you determine what's in those rows and columns. And then you keep the data there. When you need to find it, you can write macros to use it. But all your data is in the one sheet, right? When we get to what we're talking about with MySQL or Oracle or SQL Server or MongoDB or any of the other different flavors of databases, it's something called the RDBMS, which is a relational database model. Uh, and what that means is, so let me pull up my ever so handy MS Paint. So it used to be its database was just this spreadsheet, right? And you had everything in here, right? Now, and in that spreadsheet, everything existed. So if you were doing a customer spreadsheet or a spreadsheet, you have the customer name, their address, their phone number, what they bought, when they bought it, how much they paid for it, and stuff like that. That would be all in the one line going across because you'd have no place else to put the information. When we're talking about relational database models, we have multiple tables. And I'm going to show you what this looks like in a second. And in each table is specific information about what you want to know. So here I've got customers. And here I've got sales. And here I've got uh, inventory and so on. So instead of having, so instead of having one spreadsheet with everything in it, we have one database engine that has multiple tables, each with very specific data that are all joined together by some magic force and brings the data out. Okay? This might sound confusing, but I promise you in 3 weeks, it's going to make perfect sense. All right. So this is a relational database model, RDBMS, relational database modeling system. Okay. All that means is that you've got an engine running your computer that houses these tables or these objects that allows you to collect, modify, and share data. And this databases are the most powerful tool in a company's inventory. If you want to put a company out of business, you don't have to like take out their building or take out their warehouse. You take out their database. Because if you take out their database, they don't know who their customers are. They don't know what their inventory is. They don't know where anything is, and they don't know how much money they got. So databases are the most, now granted, I'm a database administrator, so I'm going to say this, but databases are the most important part of a company because without it, they can't function. Do you remember a couple weeks ago, were you guys aware of when AWS went offline? Amazon Web Services went offline for the day?
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
And that meant people couldn't play their games, and people like really said, "Oh no, can't play League of Legends, dang." But the problem was all the businesses couldn't get to their databases. So they couldn't pay their bills, they couldn't tell you who owed the money, they couldn't do any transactions. So businesses were frozen for that day. Anyone who had their databases on prem, like my company did, we were fine. But that's how powerful databases are. Okay. So let's look here. So if you have not, sometime this week, you'll be installing MySQL and you'll be installing something called the Sakilla database. So when you open it up, you see this here. These are all databases. So let me back up 1 second. I keep referring to, ooh, someone chatted me. Oh, that's okay, Miguel. Miguel? Yeah, that's fine. Um, don't worry about it. I'm glad you're here. Um, I've been referring, go away. I've been referring to databases as an engine. And let me explain what that means. So when you install Excel on your computer, if you turn your computer on, Excel is not running until you tell it to. until you want it to, until you open it. You go, okay, Excel, open. Boom. I'm Minecraft is right here. I'm not playing Minecraft until I click the button, and then it's running. Okay. A database, if your computer's on, the database is running in the background. It's always running. It's an engine. Because a database is something that people access and need access to. So as long as the computer's on, the database engine is running. This workbench here isn't the database. This workbench is how you get to the database. The database is just a series of files on your computer that you never actually touch. So when we look at this and we click this arrow down, we get tables, views, store procedure. We're just going to take tables right now. So I click down on tables. It shows me all the names of all the tables in the database. Okay. And this is cool, but it doesn't, hey, John, this doesn't give you a good idea of what it looks like. So I'm going to show you something tonight. If you go here to where it says database and you choose reverse engineer, I'm going to take the database on the system and create something called an ERD, an entity relationship diagram. It's going to give you a visual representation of what the database looks like so you can see all the tables and all the columns and how they connect together. And again, this is going to be a lot for you on the first night. And I get that. But trust me, you'll understand in 3 weeks. But I'm going to show you what it looks like from this point. So here, it sets the parameters. It's just what I'm doing is converting what's the data, what the engine knows, to a visual representation of what the database is. I'm going to choose Sakilla, and I'm going to execute this, and then this is what the database looks like. We got all these tables, and in the table there are columns. You don't see the data because we don't care about that right now. The term for this is called the schema. Okay. So here we see a person's table and a people table and a city table and an inventory table. Okay. And in the city table, I've got the city ID, the city name, the county ID, the country ID, and the last time it was updated. And all these lines are connections to the tables. So all these lines say this data matters to this table. So if I highlight this table, you'll see it goes over here to the address table and to the country table. If I hide the person's table, it doesn't connect to anything because no one loves people. The people table goes down here to the customer table, to the staff table, and everything. Okay. So all I want you to do on this for tonight is to recognize a table, a column, and what we call the primary key. This is a table. A table has columns. Whatever columns in the table directly describe what the table is about. So here I've got the people table. I got first name, last name, and a bunch of other things. I don't have things like, what they bought, how much they paid, how they pay for things in that table, because it doesn't matter to them right now. This is just about them. There are other tables for that. The other thing I want you to know, go away from tonight, is you see this one that has a little key there? That table has a little key? That's referred to as the primary key. Every table must have a primary key, and the primary key allows the table to sort the contents of the table by a specific column. You want to control that. You want to say, hey, sort by this column. Is this making sense for everybody? Anyone lost? Good? Good? All right. What's in the chat? Yeah, you're not, you didn't miss much, John. You're good. We're just going over stuff. I'm basically just going over the basics of databases, what your average week in this class looks like, and a couple of odds and ends. All right. So let's talk real quick about how do you make this stuff? How do you make the table stuff? How do you and put the data in the table. So the language we speak in databases is called T-SQL. It stands for Transactional Structured Query Language. Okay. T-SQL, Transactional Structured Query Language. It was invented, I'm going to say around the 80s sometime, maybe a little bit before that, with the first versions of databases online. Transactional structured query language has two major components to it. One's called DDL and one's called DML. DDL stands for Data Definition Language. Definition Language. And DML stands for Data Manipulation Language. So how many of you all program in like COBOL or no COBOL? No one speaks COBOL anymore. Python or Java or C plus or C sharp or C plus plus or J sharp, any of those program languages? Those aren't English. Those don't make any sense. Transactional T-SQL, the language uses words that we understand. So data definition language are the commands that create things. That create, alter, and delete objects. So a table is an object, a column is an object, a row is an object, an index is an object, a primary key is an object. So that's what, and the commands are create, alter, and drop. So here on day one, you're learning a new language. And it's pretty obvious. Create makes the thing, alter changes the thing, and drop deletes the thing. Data manipulation language is the code that you write to deal with what's inside the table, the data itself, the information. The main one that you'll use every day as a DBA is select. That gets the data out of the table. Then you've got insert. That puts the data in the table. Then you've got update. That alters the data in the table. And then you've got delete. And that deletes the data in the table. Who thought learning a new language would be so easy? So, Arthur, well, like, what are you cooking, dude? You're making some dinner here, and now you're making me hungry.
Sorry, I'm gonna make some wings. I just am
Making some
hungry.
wings?
Yeah.
Dang,
Is
man.
that cool? You want me to stop?
Just send me
And
some. You know,
oh yeah.
ship
Yeah,
some
send
down
me
here, man.
send me
I
your
love a good
address.
wing. How spicy do you make them?
I'm gonna make two separate groups. I'm making some buffalo and then some salt and vinegar.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Nice. How hot does the buffalo go for you? Do you go like super hot or kind of hot, or are you a
The
ghost pepper
buffalo is
guy?
not for me,
Hmm.
but it's pretty hot.
Nice.
Yeah. Sorry, am I distracting?
No, I like breaking from conversations, and
Okay.
I can only lecture for so long before I lose my mind. So eventually we'll talk about Star Wars or Superman or Brandon Sanderson. We'll move something into something else.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah. All
Cool.
right. So any questions on the languages? We're going to be talking about this a whole lot. Okay. Starting next week, we're going to be writing queries. I'll be showing you how to write queries. Um, just so you know, the Tuesday night classes, we're going to talk about stuff that's in the book that you need to know for the class, and I'll also start stuff that you don't need to know. Not just about like sci-fi and fantasy stuff, but like about aspects of databases that we don't really talk about, like how the engine actually works, how the data is stored in the. I find that stuff fascinating. How data is stored on the drives. Um, so we're gonna talk about that. All right. Any questions on the simple stuff? All right. So let's talk about what an average week looks like for y'all. There are basically four things to do every week. The first thing is preparation and reading. That's what this one here is. This tells you what to read and what to do and how to do it and when to do it. Okay. So this is what you're going to learn this week in the learning objectives. This is the reading assignment. So let me give you a quick discussion about your textbook. Has everyone accessed your textbook? Okay. I'm going to tell you if you don't do it, it's fine. The textbook is a good textbook, but it was written like 5 years ago. So it's a little out of date. If you do get it and do read it, do not, when it here says read chapter one, don't read chapter one. This is not a fun book to read. There's no thrilling storylines. It's very, very boring. It's like walking through a briar patch. It's slow and painful. So the book is good for a reference book. There's this great index in the back that if you have a question on something, look in the index, find out where it is, and go read that one little section of the book. Don't think you've got to like this is not a page turner. Okay. What I do strongly recommend you look at are these PowerPoint slides and then any website affiliated with that week. Because we have websites attached to this because those get updated if anything changes. As the versions of MySQL change, if anything code-wise changes, if they deprecate a feature, we'll talk about it there. Okay. So look over these. Um, and here's the basics of what they expect you to do by the end of it. And we've done all of this, except for this. Um, and I'm going to make a change this semester that I haven't made yet because I don't like the CLI. What's up, Jane? Sean?
Yeah, I had a question about AI.
Sure. Oh, yeah, sure.
In my last class, I used AI as like a tutor,
Hmm.
like not writing code or anything, but
Hmm.
like helping me troubleshoot my code or giving me suggestions. Is that
Sure.
okay in your class?
I do it. Yeah, absolutely. I think AI when used properly is a fantastic tool. AI when used improperly will get you through the class, but you're not going to learn anything, so there's no point to it. But
Yeah,
yeah,
no. When I've asked ChatGPT to be in tutor mode, it's
mm,
been really helpful for me.
yeah. I've really gotten into writing what they refer to as personas for AI. Like you tell it exactly who you want it to be, and it's that person. Well, person. It's not a person, it's a machine. Um, so yeah, I absolutely advocate the use of it. As a matter of fact, when we talk about the final project, there's a part of the final project where you've got to populate the database, which normally takes hours to write that code. But if you take the schema of your database and give it to the AI engine and ask it to write the insert statements for you, it'll do it. And it saves you probably like 6 or 7 hours of code writing. And I'm totally fine with that. Um, I've had students who've like just gone to the writing assignment and copy and pasted it and put it into the thing. Um, and I can always tell that they've done it because I've got tricks there that that the AI doesn't catch. But yeah, absolutely use it as a tutor, as a help. It is a fantastic resource. It's a fancy Google search. So yeah, yeah. Um, have you? Which one do you use? You use ChatGPT?
Yeah, I've used ChatGPT and it's pretty good. It's not perfect, but I mean, as like a tutor, it's
Yeah.
pretty helpful.
My favorite has always been Copilot. Just I
Okay.
like the way we're, but Copilot got weird because now it gives you a talking head.
Oh no.
Yeah. So like you can choose the person like an ancient American Indian lady who will give you sage advice about things. It's a little off-putting, I think. Because it doesn't change the voice. It's still the weird AI voice, but it's got the face of like, a 90-year-old Asian man from who sits on Mount on in the Himalayas to give advice. So yeah, right now I'm pretty much a Gemini guy because I get that for free. So I like free. Free's the best. But yeah, use it absolutely. I think it's a very good tool to use. Right. Um, so it says here, learn how to use the MySQL CLI. Don't use the CLI. So this, what I have here is the workbench. It's called the GUI, a graphic user interface. The CLI is this thing. It's the command prompt. Okay. Only use this if you want to show off because you can absolutely run and run your database through here, but I did it. So my first database job, I said I'm going to show everyone. I'm going to do my database programming from here. Um, I hated it and I stopped doing it very quickly. It didn't even make me look as cool as I thought it was going to. Because when you're doing stuff over here in the this window here, no, don't not that. So if I get a new query window here, right, and I want to rate a, so the first command you ever write is use what database you want to use in the name of the database. I could type out Sakilla if I wanted to, or I could just do this. And then I could write my select statement, or I could just do this, or I could just do this. So I am all about not typing. Matter of fact, in my life, I use voice to text more than I probably should, which makes for some funny mistakes. But use this. So don't worry about the CLI. The first writing assignment talks about using CLI. Just tell me the CLI is a bad idea, and I'll pass you the grade on it because I haven't changed it yet. CLI stands for Command Line Interface, and some of the hardcore developers still like using that, and I think they're just silly people. Anyway, off my soapbox. Okay, so first here, read this stuff. There's a quiz that just says, "Did you read it?" You say yes, you passed the quiz. Hey, it's a good quiz. Next up are the exercises. 12 out of the 13 weeks, you will be asked to write code. 11 out of 13 weeks, you'll be asked to write code. This week is just, did you install it and how did you install it? Was it correct? Next week, we do something a little different. No. It's always exercises. So you're always writing code for the exercises. Okay. So you go in there, it'll say, write code that does this, write code that does that, and it'll be against the Sakilla database. Good. The ChatGPT, Claude, Gemini, they all know what Sakilla is. So if you write the query, say, does this make sense? They'll can tell you whether it makes sense or not. So this is the 4 question quiz. Okay, next. Then you've got a quiz. Quiz is something like 10 questions long, depending on the week. It is open book, open test, open notes, open friend, open phone, open what. I don't care. You just call your buddy who took class last semester. Get him to help you. Because the way I look at this is that if you choose to be a database administrator or a developer or anything in your life, no one expects you to know everything. The most important thing is to know where to find the answer. So find the answers, answer the quest. I don't know. They said give you 3 attempts. If it takes you 3 attempts to do this, I don't know what's wrong with you. Maybe you need a nap. But it should do one. You should pass it. It shouldn't be a problem. The quizzes are all the same way. They're 25 points. They're however many questions they are. The final exam are the questions from the quizzes, and the rules for the final exam stand for the final. The quiz stands for the final exam. So if you choose to do the final exam, you open your book, open your page, look back at the old things, have 2 windows open, whatever it takes. Find the answers, get the answers. What I care about mostly in this class is that you understand the coding. Yes, Arthur.
So while you were talking, a question came into my head. You said like professionally, like if you have a question, you can just like look it up, figure it out. Do people get like SQL certifications? Is that a thing?
Yep,
Or is it just like, do you
there are
feel like
definitely
that's
certifications.
something important if you're like pursuing like a database career? Like it's important to get a certification or that, or just say that you have like years and experience?
So that's a good question. Database certifications help you get more money in your job. If you are certified in Oracle or SQL, or you've got or certified in AI and you apply for a job, you can ask for more money. Does a certification help you do your job better? No. It just means you took a test really, really well.
And is the certification something like the school gives us an opportunity to take it in a class at some point, or you do it on your own?
You do it in this school, you do it on your own. And I'm gonna tell you right now, what I'm teaching you right now is not going to get you certified for anything. It'll get you a job, but it's not going to get you certified. If you want to get your certifications, you either need to do a lot of online studying and find the exam. You got to choose what platform do you want to do, Oracle certification or SQL Server certification or MySQL certification or whatever certification. Um, what I would, if you want to get certified, what I'd strongly suggest doing is learn the craft, get a job, and then your company will pay you to get certifications, which makes the
Like,
most sense. Yeah. Because the tests are like 300 bucks a piece. Here you go, John. What's up?
This is kind of random, but I'm just curious if you recommend going into database with the advent of AI. Do you think there's going to be less database jobs,
No.
more? Do they pay really well still, or do you
So
think it's
database, that's a
going away?
great question. So AI, so remember when I talked about relational model databases, what we're talking about here? AI uses a different kind of database called a vector database. So even AI is powered by a database, and you need DBAs to run it. In my company, I run two databases. Well, I manage people who run two databases. I don't do anything anymore. I just tell people what to do. Um, uh, I but yeah, so database jobs out of the gate right now, if you so like with my company, I work for a company called Leidos. Interns come in at $25 an hour in my company. Starting salary for a DBA is between 45 and 50,000 a year, depending on the company. The longer you're in that role, the more you make. You can make up to after 5 or 6 years, you're probably in the six digits, the low six digits. Make it a career, you're probably making 200, 250 by your 25 year round. Database operators are never going to go away because databases are always there, and they're not going to trust AIs to run it because they hallucinate too much. It's like they'll always be developers because you develop the AI. AI is just a tool. It's not, everyone thinks it's going to take over. It will take over simple tasks like go back up the database. It can do that. But go troubleshoot the database, it's not going to be able to do that. So I do have recommend if you're going to play the certification game, which I always recommend because it gets you more money, get AI certifications as well. Get AI developer certifications, AI backend certifications. Everything is AI, but everything was Bitcoin like 10 years ago, and now it's like a passing thought. And who even knows what an NFT is anymore? So it's a flash in the pan. There's a chart. I gotta find the chart. I'll show you guys next week. There's a chart on technology, how it comes in and like it ramps up to like this incredible. Everyone has to use it, and then it dies off really quickly. And that was if you look at technology, like when Bitcoin became a thing, it went really really high, and like Bitcoin is like what $187,000 a coin, whatever that actually means, because it doesn't exist. It's all imaginary. Um, and after that, everyone tried to make their own Bitcoins. Like what Dogecoin is like 22 cents or something like that to buy a Dogecoin. So, and then you look at cloud. Everyone's like, cloud was just a rebranding of the internet. That's the cloud is just someone else's computer that your stuff is on. But everyone thought it was the next biggest thing. And that went really, really high. And there's all these cloud things, and now companies are bringing their stuff back on prem. I will say right now, as long as I work in databases, I will never let my databases exist in the cloud. They'll always be on prem because I don't trust other people to take care of my stuff. Like I said, when AWS went down, like I said, 5 weeks ago, AWS went down. People lost access to their databases. Business stopped. I don't want to do that. But if you learn how to use AI as a tool, if you learn how to do it, you're always going to have a job. And database administrators are always going to be needed. They're always going to be needed. So I think it's one of the careers in IT that will stay put. That and like learning how to build the servers because that AI can't do that yet either. So unless it becomes self-aware, and then I'll just do what it says. So that's fine too. What's up, Kate? Jaden, what's your question?
Uh, I mean, sorry, I just wanted to make more of a comment. I've done a lot of research into the AI stuff, especially because that was a big thing for me. Also, was like job security when it comes to AI. And really, I would say even calling them intelligent is an overstatement. It's just a really complex program. You give it a set of parameters, and it spits out information based on what you tell it, just like any other program that you write. So really, like the professor said, like it, there'll probably always be jobs in the market. AI can't do its own thing. It's not an intelligence. It's just a program.
Yeah, yeah. It's a tool that everyone's starting to use, and everyone thinks it's the coolest thing now. So DBA stands for database administrator. A data analyst is something completely different. Now, data analyst or data scientist, that's a very cool field, but we don't do that here. That's when you look at trending analysis, look at the data, try to predict things of happening. That's an interesting field to get into. That's another thing. Predictive analysis is another field to look into with databases. Great questions tonight, guys. Thank you. I hope you all keep coming because usually people stop dropping off at week 4. So hopefully I'll see your faces every week. All right. So quiz, like I said, open book, get them done, check the box, do it. Um, Final exam, that'll work. Now, my favorite thing of the week is the paper. So this used to be the weekly paper used to be this thing where you were asked to you work for a company. You just learned how to write a select statement. Please tell me why select statements are important. That was silly. I didn't like that. So basically, what we're doing with the final paper, the weekly papers, is you guys are my DBAs, and we're building a database for the Possum Pet Services because I want a dog grooming service, and you're going to build the database for me. And every week, you're going to be asked to do something against that database that'll have to do with what that week's assignment. So for this week, you need to create the database, and all the code is here for you to do it. Go ahead and do this part about using the CLI, and you'll see why it's silly. If you can't do it and it doesn't work, that's fine. Just tell me it didn't work and it was silly. You're right either way. But there's 3 parts to this. There's 2 parts to this. There's one doing the assignment and then reflecting on the assignment. So when you do that, make sure you do both parts of it. Some people just like to write the code and then not tell me what they're thinking about it. Because this to me is the meat of this class. Because over in the quizzes and all this other stuff, you're just regurgitating knowledge that you found in a book. Here, I'm asking you to do something creative. I'm asking you to figure something out and problem something out and figure out how it works. So it's really it's like I said, it's my favorite part, and I designed it, so it kind of makes me why it makes my favorite part. So for the 13 weeks, your job will be to build this database up from scratch, make the changes I ask you to do, and it'll always be a written assignment except for next week. The week 2 writing assignment isn't a writing assignment. It is please prepare a video for me explaining to me what you did. And there's a very good reason I do this. Who here knows about Proctorio and the evil thing that Proctorio is? So yeah, I don't like using Proctorio. So I found out that the reason why we use Proctorio is because this is an online course and it is required to maintain accreditation that one assignment is done on camera. So the week 2 writing assignment is done on camera. And as long as the majority of students do it on camera, I don't have to do the Proctorio test. So you're welcome for not being forced to put spyware in your computer, as my son would say. He would talk for hours. He would talk for hours on Proctorio and how evil it is. I don't, it doesn't bother me, but it makes you guys happy. So I'm happy to do it for you. All right. So next week, it's a video assignment. Other than that, it's here's what I want you to do. Please show me the code you do it. Tell me how you did it and tell me what you think about it. Okay. The last part I'm going to give you a highlight on, but this is a most, we're going to talk about it more later. I said there's a final exam. The final exam is the way this class is set up, you could finish this by the end of the week because there's nothing stopping you from just doing everything from now. If you got like nothing to do from now until Friday, you could probably finish the class or come really close to finishing it and definitely finish it next week because this is all self-paced. I try to give you more about that with Tuesday nights and with this writing assignment. The final exam is open book. You can figure it out. You can probably take it now and pass it, to be honest. But we have a final project, which is an option. So the final project is where you figure out a business that you'd like to make and create the database for it. Or an application that you'd like to make and create the database for it. I've had my favorite one still to date is someone made a database and developed the front end for it because they were a front end developer. It was a food storage tracker tied to a recipe book. So they could go and say, write the query. Like, you wouldn't write the query, but it's like, show me all recipes I can make today, or show me what I'm missing for this recipe, and things like that. So that was a really cool one. I've had people doing schedule tracking for their kids, rewriting computer interfaces, blah blah blah. Just a ton of different ones. So the final project is you work on your own. It takes about minimum 6 to 7 weeks to do it right. You figure out an app that you want to make. You write the database for it, and I've got some criteria for it to go with the criteria, and then you submit it to me at the end of the semester. So it's a good time. And the reason I do this is because I remember back like in the late 90s, I remember sitting at like, Ruby Tuesdays or a restaurant with my friends waiting for the waitress to show up. And like, how cool it would be if we had a terminal here where we could order our food ourselves and like pay for it here and never have to talk to the waitress. And if I had done that, I'd be a millionaire teaching this class right now. But I didn't do that. Someone else did it, and they're a millionaire teaching a class somewhere because those things very much exist now. So, and this is something like I've had students in the past who like actually made an app on the App Store and gone and put it out there and don't make money off it, but it's kind of fun to do. And it's a great resume pattern for stuff like that. But the final project is a lot of fun. Oh, really? There you go. So if you've got the program, make the database for it this semester, Jaden. Yeah. So yeah, so the final project is really cool. We're gonna really dig in deep to it on week 3, and then week 3 and 4, when I'm done talking about code with you, I'll walk through designing a database with you because I love designing databases. I remember when I first started teaching database classes, the room I had, because we did these things in person back then, the room I had was 4 walls of dry erase boards from like ceiling to floor. And I started in one corner of the room and went around the entire room within the 3-hour period of the class, and we designed a massive database. Because databases can get pretty big pretty fast. If you just suddenly decide, oh, let's do this, and let's do this, and let's do this. So anyway, that's that. So that's my spiel for tonight. How are those wings going, Carter? You done yet?
No, they got like 30 minutes left.
Oh, okay, you done.
I'm in the oven.
You get yourself an air fryer, man. Those big looking air fryer.
I know. I thought
Love
one of
an
my
air fryer.
roommates would have it, but they don't.
Buy one, man. They're like $25. How many?
I should. I'll
Yeah.
invest.
I don't know how I live without an Instapot and an air fryer. I got both. I use them every day.
Oh,
Anyway. All right. So that's my spiel for tonight. Does anyone have any questions, comments, thoughts, concerns? Praise for the teacher. That'd be great too. I like that. Thank you. Cool. All right. So, I'm always available through text me. Please remember, I'm in the East Coast, in Florida, and I'm 3 hours in the future for some of you. So I'm speaking to you from the future, and we're still okay. Nothing bad has happened yet. So text me, email me, message me. I'll respond back as we can. We do have a TA in the class. He's there to help you as well. I got more chatting stuff here. Oh, you're welcome, guys. I hope to see you every week. Like I said, we do this stuff for the class, but then I go into deep dives about certain things. And if you have any questions, ask them because I love answering questions. I not only do I mean, I've got 47 years of knowledge of Superman. I can answer pretty much any Superman question you got. And I can explain to you why the last movie was probably the best Superman movie made, except for Christopher Reeve. And I do have a vast Brandon Sanderson knowledge. So, and most sci-fi and fantasy. So yeah, I can do that. So anyway, if there's nothing else, it is 10:18 here on the East Coast. I will give you guys back 12 minutes. And if you need me, you know where I am. If not, I'll see you next week. Bye, guys.
Good night.
Night.